Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Forge 20. I'm your dungeon master, Hunter, accompanied by my best friend and my brother, Zach, and my actual brother and best friend, Parker. We are back once again with another thrilling episode of our feature campaign, Thrones. We're excited to be back because we're nearing closer and closer to our goal, which is obviously facing down the White Dragon, but before that, we have things to do. We still have a orc tribe to deal with that's been terrorizing the Storm Coast, and we still need to get back to Fendowen to figure out how we're going to go about a battle plan to face down this dragon. But to recap what happened last episode, the party was able to foil a unholy ritual, a ritual to summon a demigod named Gorthok, a thunderboar being summoned by this tribe of orcs. These orcs obviously were trying to contact their god and summon this avatar or demigod, Gorthok, because they needed a weapon to fight the White Dragon. They very clearly have been displaced by his presence here as well. And ultimately, they were successful in summoning this thunderboar, but he didn't last long. Thanks to the quick thinking of Hathron, Daedalus, and Alastair, Gorthok, as quickly as he came, he went, but not before grievously injuring most of the party and knocking Alastair unconscious. Upon being knocked unconscious, Alastair had recurring nightmares about a certain being, a being that had been terrorizing him during the fight with the boar. He kept seeing these visions of a creature or a person staring at him from just beyond his vision, just out of his focus. He could see them at the corner of his eye. But in the night, after he was knocked unconscious, this vision came to him of this being, a being that is very well known to Alastair, but not known to the rest of the party. A being very close to him, almost like kin in a way. It almost emerged from the shadows, nearing closer and closer, almost creeping into Alastair's vision. He saw the mandibles of this creature protruding from the shadows, and evil laughter. And then he awoke, much to the surprise of Hathron and Daedalus, who were mid a very tense conversation about how the battle went with the shamans and Gorthok himself. But that is where we're going to pick up. We're going to pick up with Alastair. You are waking up in this moment from your shocking dream. You were just visited by someone very close to you in a way. You obviously are shook to your very core of what's just happened. You've shot up pretty much Undertaker style, just straight out of your sleep, deep breath, gasp. You sit up, you're in a cold sweat, and you look over and you see just on the other side of this campfire, on the other side of your from the opening of your tent, you can see Hathron and Daedalus staring back at you, both very, well, Daedalus less so than Hathron, or more so than Hathron, excuse me. Daedalus looks shocked and concerned. Hathron looks confused more than anything, but you see this looks on their faces. And you hear Daedalus speak to you, Alastair, in this moment. He looks at you with great concern. Alastair, what's going on?
Alastair is breathing very heavily in this moment as he's not even acknowledging Hathron or Daedalus at this moment. There's a cold sweat kind of just dripping off of his face. And upon hearing Daedalus's voice, he turns to him and locks eyes with him. I just had a nightmare, that's all. As you look at him, he's very clearly he's not telling the truth to you at all. He's not even trying to hide it. He just woke up. He's still trying to process what's going on. He's clearly hiding something from you both.
What did you see?
Alastair stops his heavy, fast-paced breathing for a moment. He looks away from Daedalus for a moment, kind of looking around, trying to see if anybody's watching or anybody's listening. But with his eye, he can't see anything, so he locks eyes with Daedalus and says, I have something to tell you. It's very important. I'm not sure if I've been forthright with what I am. The last couple of days, weeks have been crazy, so forgive me if I'm repeating myself, but I am no wizard, nor am I a sorcerer. I have made an unholy pact, and my keeper is following me. I saw them in the fight with that giant boar.
You see Daedalus, as you say, you made a pact. You see him kind of lean back and he stiffens his back, and you see this kind of leery look on his face as his head kind of leans back as he looks at you. Well, a pact. A pact with what? And why?
Well, I made a pact with an ice devil. Why? Why? It's a good question. He starts to tremble a little bit upon saying this, and begins to continue. Because I let my pride get to my head that I could be a powerful hero like my father, and I could never get the abilities that he was gifted. He was a sorcerer, a very powerful one. He could channel divine light energy and use it to dispel the darkest and most evil demons and devils. But I never unlocked those abilities. And I guess you could say I had so much envy that I couldn't have something like that I hadn't tapped into something like that after 14 years. And on my birthday, I gave up my mind, my body, and my soul without even realizing it.
You see Daedalus's eyes are very wide. He is listening very intently, and you can see gears kind of begin to move in his head. Okay, if this is the source of his power, if he gave up mind, body, and soul, he starts connecting pieces in his mind of different things and different moments the two of you have shared in this journey. Daedalus doesn't say anything in that moment, but you can clearly tell that a sort of veil has been lifted from his eyes. He can see more of the truth, maybe not the whole thing. Alastair, you said you're the Pact Keeper. They're coming. They're following you. What do they want?
I don't know. They probably want to invoke a term of the contract. I couldn't tell you. They haven't spoken to me personally.
So that's it? You took the coward's way out. Agreed to something you did not understand. And now you weep about it?
In this moment,
Daedalus jaws dropped. His eyes are wide and his jaw just dropped at what you said. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Zach.
You're fine. Alastair clenches his fist tightly. He turns and looks at you, Hathron, with an unbridled rage in his eye. He gets up, and he walks over towards you. Now, albeit you are bigger than him, he intently and with purpose locks eyes with you. How dare you call a naive child who knew no better than what he was signing up for a coward, as you want to slay innocent orcs, women, and children for your own personal vendetta. People who wouldn't kill you if even they had the chance, and you call me a coward.
Do it. I see your hand. Do it. Hit me. You sit here, and you pretend that what I do is bad, and that the people I kill are innocent and not evil. I promise you this, I know they are evil. I know they are evil because I am them, and I am full of evil. It festers and screams out to the heavens, begging to be set loose upon this world in a fire the very hells would envy. It gnaws at my skull. I have seen what orcs really are. Either unclench your fist or strike me now.
Alastair just upward kicks you in the jaw. He's going to try to.
Okay. I was going to have Daedalus jump in. I would like to try to roll a reaction.
Absolutely,
Is
you're the
that
DM.
I didn't want to interrupt anybody. I wanted to wait for him to speak or finish what he was saying and then jump in, but you got to it first. You did get to it first. So I will let the dice decide. Daedalus is going to try to reach out and grab your leg as you reach out to strike Hathron. He's just going to try to stop the kick and then say something. If he doesn't and he fails, and if you hit him, you hit him. Let the dice decide.
It won't do any damage anyway.
Oh, it'll do damage. If you hit him and you beat that AC, it's going to do damage.
0 bludgeoning damage on my unarmed strikes, though.
Let's see. No, you'll do damage because we'll go off your dex. I think that's stupid that unarmed strikes go off of only strength.
I kind of agree with you.
Well. Because it does for monks. So, but they get like modifiers and stuff, like +2 and stuff. But anyways, trying not to get sidetracked. I'm gonna go ahead and roll. Let's say I'll roll for your AC to see if I intercept it.
Fair enough. 14.
Okay, Daedalus has a +4.
50% chance. So, to describe what this looks like, Alastair clenching his fist, deadlocking eyes with Hathron, kicks back his leg and starts to lift it up. And you catch it.
As soon as you bring that leg forward to go swing at Hathron, Daedalus springs up. He knows as soon as he says do it and you make that face and he sees your fist clench even tighter, Daedalus knows you're going to do it. And he never doubted you for a second with what you were saying. Nor did he doubt Hathron wanting you to do it. So he jumps in. Immediately, Daedalus springs into action. He jumps up, places himself semi-between you, like a little bit off to the side, but between you enough. And as he gets over there, he reaches out. And can you go ahead and roll your attack, by the way? Just roll to see. I want to see what happens.
16.
Oh. What kind of kick is this? Is this just like a straight up like soccer style front kick to the face kind of thing?
Yep.
So as you bring your foot up and you go to meet Hathron's face with your foot, Daedalus places himself in between and you kick Daedalus square in like the just above the nether regions, we'll say. You kick him in like the lower stomach area, kind of teep him right in there. And as you hit Daedalus, you hear, "Oh, enough!" And he shoves Alastair back, and he puts his hand out towards Hathron. Not touching him because he knows if he shoves him, it's on. He knows. He shoves Alastair back a little bit. Not enough to actually shove you, but he just puts his hand on you. Enough! We've been through a lot in the last few hours. But by the gods, I will not have us betray each other, turn on each other in this moment. If what you say is true, Alastair, and he is coming, whatever it is, he, she, you will need your strength then. And you are right. He may be a monster. But right now we need him. And we can't turn on each other for over a few words. That being said, and he turns to you now, Hathron. I will not have you question his honor or his bravery. He is my ally first and my friend. And he has saved my life on more than one occasion. He has shown bravery when many other men would have wavered. A naive child, yes, maybe a coward then, but he is no coward now. Something pursues him. And when it gets here, we will deal with it. But I will not have the two of you turning on each other. You don't have to like each other. We need to work together. We kill the orcs. That was the deal. And he looks over at you, Alastair. Right?
Alastair is still deadlocking eyes with Hathron, not even paying attention. Well, he's paying attention to what Daedalus is saying, but not paying him any mind. And he says, "You're right."
And as you say that, he turns to Hathron. And then we go kill the dragon, right?
That's what I agreed to.
Then this is settled. If you want to kill each other after that, that's fine. But right now we have other things to worry about. Daedalus then kind of like realizes for a moment that he's like standing between you two, and the rage is still there for Alastair. He knows it's still there, and he can feel Hathron's tension emanating off of him. Hathron hasn't changed. There's a very clear he's calm, perfectly calm. But as he said, there's something screaming, scratching at the surface, trying to get out. There is a deep, impending doom feeling in Daedalus' stomach when he thinks of the two of them beginning to fight. And as that happens, Daedalus looks over at you, Alastair. Please, if you want to talk more, let's go over here and we can discuss. He obviously is not ready to listen, nor does he care to, I think.
All right. He finally unlocks eyes with Hathron and turns to Daedalus.
Daedalus turns and kind of looks at Hathron, and then he looks at you, and he kind of motions towards your tent.
Alastair starts heading over there.
Daedalus follows you. And he looks over at Hathron. What's Hathron doing in this moment as they walk away?
Hathron is kind of like tending to some of his wounds. They're like sewing him up and whatnot, and then he's gonna look like he's preparing to go on a hunt to try to get food. He's hungry.
Nice. Oh, okay. All right. As you're preparing to go for like a late night hunt, and you seem unbothered by what just occurred, completely unfazed. Would you say that? You seem unfazed.
Yeah, for the most part. I'd say he's annoyed because the one of the two people he just met that he kind of liked turned out to be harboring a fucking demon and didn't say anything about it, and so he's like, that's kind of not cool. Because now I've agreed to like hang out with you guys, and I already don't like one of you.
Very well. All right. So Daedalus follows Alastair to his tent, and Daedalus takes a seat and actually ends up, he halfway shuts the opening so Alastair can sit behind like a closed curtain, and Daedalus can sit in the open, so he keeps an eye out where Hathron is and what's going on at the camp. Just making sure nobody tries to kill each other in this moment. Alastair, I would be lying if I didn't tell you in this moment that I am questioning a few things. Can you give me a few honest answers and be truly honest? No more lies, no more secrets. At least not from me.
Alastair places his hand on Daedalus's... Is he wearing his armor right now?
Yeah, he still has it on.
Puts his hand on his
It's all
pauldron.
fucked up, but he still got it.
Puts his hand on his shoulder pauldron and says, anything for you, my friend.
Well, my first question is, how did, you don't have to tell me everything, but I assume this is connected to what happened to your family, perhaps.
It is.
You see Daedalus look down and he nods. He seems very sad. You can see an empathy within him. I'm sorry, Alastair.
It's my fault. You have nothing to apologize for.
It is not your fault.
That's not true. I'm the reason they died. If it wasn't for my actions, they'd be alive right now.
But did you know that that would happen when you made that pact? Did you know the cost?
I thought I would only give up my mind, body, and soul. I used it as a metaphor. I wasn't being serious. I didn't think this would happen.
Daedalus, you see him, he doesn't know what to do in this moment. He doesn't know how to deal with somebody crying like this. This is not something familiar to him, in a way. But you see, you may not see it, but to illustrate what's going on as you begin to break out in tears, Daedalus kind of seems hesitant on returning that touch that you gave him, but he reaches out and he places his hand on your shoulder and he says, Alastair, if there is anything I have ever learned, sometimes we have the best intentions, but because of that, the worst consequences come of them. That does not make you a monster, evil, or responsible for their deaths. Responsible for your pact, yes. But if what you told me is true, that you don't remember what happened to them in those moments, you remember waking up, then whoever you made this pact with, this one you said who comes, they are pursuing you. It is their fault, not yours. Remember the courage you showed just now, what you showed to Hathron, what you said in that moment. You were naive, a child. You were naive. You were a child. And he looks you dead in the eyes. It is not your fault. And he just brings Alastair in for a hug. And he just kind of embraces him for a moment.
Alastair returns the gesture to Daedalus, and after a brief embrace, kind of like pushes him slightly away and looks him in the eye. Speaking of Hathron, I need to tell you something.
Daedalus kind of looks out. He looks out the tent for a second. He looks left. He looks right. He looks ahead. He looks up. He looks all around. And he comes back into the tent. All right, he's gone. I don't know where he went, but his stuff is still here. He may have went for a hunt or something. Speak now before he gets back.
Alastair looks Daedalus dead in the eye. I do not believe that in war, women and children deserve to die. My father has seen war plague these lands before, and would tell me the horrors that were done to innocent civilians. I will not stand by idle and let Hathron slay women and children, and I will put my life on the line in order to honor that oath to myself.
So as you say this, you see Daedalus is listening intently. You see a regret on his face as you say that you won't do it. And then you see a look of like, oh shit, he just implicated me now. When you said, I will put my life on the line, you see a realization on Daedalus's face. Oh, that means me too. So Daedalus kind of looks at him. And you see look on his face, like, you can tell that's exactly what he's thinking. He looks at you. Fine. If it comes down to it, you know where I stand. You know the oath I made.
Alastair.
If blows come between the two of you, if he attempts to take your life, then I will take his first.
Alastair in this moment looks Daedalus in the eye, and he's gonna speak the truth. If you do not seek to lay your life down on the line for me, for my cause, I totally understand. I do not mean to drag you in like I did with this dragon. But I am only standing up for what I believe in because it is what is right.
Daedalus shakes his head to the side as if to say no. I will keep my oath. And you see him kind of sigh as he looks off. This being that pursues you, do you know its name?
I do. However,
Daedalus looks at you.
with devils, if you say their name, you practically summon them to you. Now, he raises a hand in this moment. I would be willing to say his name, but I do not know how he's going to react.
You see Daedalus for a moment. He takes his time thinking on this.
If there was ever a time to practice caution, now is the time. There will be a better opportunity to confront him on our terms, or at least bring him here, when we aren't beaten beyond belief.
Looking at the two of you, the injuries that you suffered, Daedalus's armor being dented.
When the time comes, when you're ready, and you're ready to reveal his name, say it. I'm sure there's still many more truths to come out about this, but this was a lot to take in.
And it took a lot to tell you. That's because I trust you with my life.
Daedalus nods.
And I trust you, Alastair.
Alastair nods and extends his hand out to shake Daedalus's claw-like appendage.
Daedalus's taloned hand reaches out and shakes yours.
I have your back. Do not worry. Hathron should be back soon. He's probably getting some form of late-night snack out there. Are you going to get your rest, or are you going to stay up for a while considering the circumstance?
Alastair looks around the room, and he's got a little small, table that he can easily take up and down that's kind of next to his bedroll. That's about, if he were to kneel right in front of it, he could pick it up. There's a book on there, and he grabs the book, and there's an ink and quill next to it. He holds the book. It's got a midnight blue leather binding with some gold accented filigree upon the book. I'm going to do some writing, but I think that's how I will end my evening.
Daedalus kind of takes a mental note of the specific book you're writing in as you head over to the table and make your designated writing and reading area. And as you do this, Daedalus doesn't say anything. He just gets up and watches for a moment, and then he heads out of the tent, barely making a sound. As he does this, he heads towards his own tent, haphazardly put up as it is. Daedalus believes himself to be the only one here at camp. Hathron is gone. Alastair's shut his curtains for the evening on his tent, so Daedalus sees no need in covering his tent for the moment as he begins to take off his armor and begins to sort of prepare for the night's rest. As he does this, he does not realize that someone is watching him in this moment. Hathron, your hunt went very well. You were able to find... go ahead and roll me a survival check real quick, just to see what you got. It went well, but we'll see what you found on this hunt.
10. Yeah.
Okay.
Middle of the road.
When you return, as you return from your hunt, you take note of your prizes, the bounty that you found. You were able to find a fox traveling in the night and kill it very quickly with no struggle, as well as the rabbit it was hunting. So you have 2 animal corpses. You've already thrown them over your shoulder and are heading back to the camp after dispatching of them rather quickly. And as you approach the camp, you see Daedalus exiting Alastair's tent. You see Alastair closing his curtains for the evening, and you see Daedalus head over to his own. But you see Daedalus is not put the curtains down on his tent. He believes himself to be alone. You take a moment and you decide, I want to see something. I want to know. You've had suspicions based off the Dragonborn's hatred of the orcs. It may not be as grandiose and vitriolic as yours, but it is still a flame that burns very, very brightly. The closest thing to yours that you've ever seen towards the orcs. You have a suspicion about something. And as you sit there, you watch as Daedalus takes off each pauldron, each gauntlet, each boot, and finally he takes off the breastplate of his armor. And as he takes off the breastplate, you see a very specific branding on his chest. You see on Daedalus's body, wherever a normal undergarment shirt isn't, or wouldn't be, or would be, excuse me. So pretty much t-shirt area, maybe half sleeve, all the way down to his ankles. You see burn marks. You see scarring on his scales. What is golden on his face and on his taloned hands and then on his feet, you see that the scales are not gold. They are dulled. They are burnt. They are ashen. You see scar tissue where scales should be. And as you watch Daedalus, you see a very specific mark, a branding on his chest. Can you go ahead and roll me a history check with advantage?
Okay. It's the first
So
one.
roll it again. Okay. So with a 16, Hathron, you can't tell specifically what this brand is, but to your knowledge, you know that orcs, when they take prisoners or they claim a slave, they are branded, they are marked. Each individual tribe has their own markings, their own system of markings, but universally they are more or less the same. But the mark you see on Daedalus, you can tell this is a very specific orcish branding, similar to the others, but this one is unlike any you've ever seen. You've dealt with many different tribes, and you've killed many different orcs with many different marks and their prisoners. But you see that mark, and you know it has something to do with some form of, I would say, ritual. But that is all you can decipher, that Daedalus has the marking of a slave, and more specifically that that marking has something to do with some form of ritual. Daedalus continues to put on the rest of his garments and prepare for the evening's rest. As he covers his chest and torso region back up, you begin to re-enter the camp.
I would like to
Is there
cook
anything
the
you wish
food.
to do? Yes? Go ahead and roll me another survival check with advantage. I just want to see how good this meal is. Oh, thank God you got advantage.
There we go.
Oh, nice.
That's a good meal right there,
That's
brother.
It's a fucking 5-star meal. 5-star meal for a 5-star man. You, do you want to describe the beautiful stew or meal you make?
So, Hathron is gonna keep the fox to himself because he big boy, he hungry, and he's just gonna, spit roast that one,
Nice.
rotisserie that motherfucker, and then he's gonna make a little rabbit stew, and then he's gonna make 2 bowls of rabbit stew, and we'll have to play this out because I don't know if you guys are asleep or awake or not.
No, they're both awake.
Okay, he's gonna go over to Daedalus first with a bowl
Okay.
of stew, and he's gonna knock on like one of like a stick or something to make
the
some
post.
noise to be like, "Hey, I'm
Yep.
here."
You may enter.
Probably not who he's expecting. Hathron pulls the tent open with a bowl of stew. He has both, one in each hand, and he reaches he doesn't walk in, he just kind of stands in the doorway and holds the bowl out for Daedalus and says, "Here, you need it."
Daedalus is sitting at his bedroll, and in this moment, you see a bit of shock that it's you. And you see his eyes squint at you for a moment, but he stands up and apprehensively kind of approaches you slowly, not in fear, but you can tell there's a tension. He reaches out and he accepts it.
Thank you. This is much appreciated. My apologies that things got tense back there, but I could not have you two tearing each other apart.
No need for apologies. I did it on purpose.
As you say that, you see Daedalus's head kind of turn sideways and kind of leer at you.
And why is that?
He lied to us both. And then expected me to be sorry for him. And now I know he might not be as scared as I thought he was. Enjoy the soup.
Daedalus nods, acknowledging that you have another bowl of soup. He can tell where you're going with that one, but he trusts you. He takes the soup and he sits down.
Hathron, obviously, after saying enjoy the soup, backs away and heads towards Alastair's tent.
He doesn't even know. He's gonna think it's fucking Daedalus. Oh, come in.
Scared as fucking thing possible.
He's gonna turn around and see Hathron like a serial killer, like Michael Myers, bringing you a bowl of chili.
He knocks on the post.
Daedalus? You can come in.
Hathron pulls the tent open and takes one step inside.
Alastair closes the book he's writing in immediately. Oh, it's you. He places the book back on the table it was found when he was speaking with Daedalus.
I made soup. Here. And Hathron holds it out. He doesn't take another step, but he just holds it out.
Alastair grabs it. Thanks. He just starts sipping it. Now I have a question. Did he roll to cook and I missed? Like how good it is?
It's a 20.
Oh shit, okay.
It's a banger.
He looks
Mortal
at the
enemy
soup.
just made a 5-star meal.
He looks at Hathron. In his head, Alistair's thinking, how can a dumb orc like this cook a Michelin star meal?
And you call me the racist towards orcs when you just called him a dumb orc.
Hey, that was in his head. It was in his head. And he looks at Hathron. I'm quite surprised that you can cook this well. I only know a few who can cook this well.
Hathron pauses. He kind of looks up, just with his eyes, like he's thinking of how to say this. And then he says, my mother taught me how to cook.
Moms are always the best cooks.
Hathron is going to try to change the conversation. And he's going to say, what are you writing?
I do some journaling. It helps with my mental health.
Cool. Killing usually helps.
Did you say healing?
Come on.
No.
Far from it, the opposite. The exact opposite.
Killing?
Yes.
Slaying my enemies does not bring me joy, unfortunately. Maybe for you, but what brings me joy is the small pleasures in life.
Okay, Hathron looks at Alastair. And he starts to he tells him enjoy the soup and put this in your journal. The wolf who cries after his kill is no better than the wolf who does not. And then he leaves the tent.
Alistair sips on his soup, places it on the nightstand, I guess we can call it. He whispers something very softly. The Archheart. And opens the book. And he's going to go back to writing.
With that being
Hathron's gonna
said-
sleep on a log outside.
He sleeps under the stars. No tent needed. Anybody want to do anything else before we wrap up the evening? Meaning this night, not the session.
I'm good.
All right. So, with that being said, you all retire for the evening. Hathron, you sleep like a rock. As soon as you lay down and you are ready, you will yourself to sleep. You don't let yourself to sleep, you will it.
Decides to go to bed.
I sleep now. Daedalus, after a great while of thinking and pondering and reflection, he heads to bed. And last is Alastair, who's up late into the night, struggling to sleep, not trusting what could happen, what horrors wait him again in the realm of dream. But you sleep soundly. Sorry, I had to take a little sip of Pepsi there. Not sponsored, by the way. I'm sorry. As if Pepsi would sponsor us. Please, please. No, I'm kidding. That being said, everybody has a good, nice rest. Everybody go ahead and take a full rest on your character. If you haven't already, that is. And as you awaken for the morning, we're just going to skip the sort of like taking down the tents process and such. We're just going to pick up from them getting ready to head on the road. Everybody has their traveling bags together. Everything's packed up, and you guys have your morning breakfast and begin to head towards your next location. Which, speaking of, Daedalus and Alastair have no idea where this is. So Daedalus is going to look at you, Hathron, as you guys are finally getting all your bags kind of thrown over your shoulders, and you guys are getting ready for the travel. Daedalus cracks his back and kind of rolls his shoulders back a few times.
So, Orcsbane, where to next? Their leaders, you said they had a base of operation of some kind.
The Tower of Storm.
Daedalus does a double take.
The Tower of what?
The Tower of Storms.
Daedalus looks at Alastair, and you see this look at his face like, what the? Like, what did we just get into? And he looks over at Hathron.
You're telling me they have a... Is it a metaphor? Like it's not actually a Tower of Storms, or is this...
I think it's a tower near Storm.
Oh, thank the gods. They've made this their base of operations, their home.
Yes. Their chieftain is there, and along with him is any breeding female he could find, all of his children, his highest ranking fighters, and probably rank and fodder behind them.
Daedalus kind of And as you guys are walking along towards the objective, Daedalus kind of looks at you.
So, how the hell are we going to kill the chieftain and all of his rank and file?
Probably the same way we're gonna kill the dragon.
Daedalus looks at Alastair like, this motherfucker. Like, he literally kind of looks at him like, this guy.
You just want us to walk right in?
I have an idea.
Daedalus, you see him. He has that look, remember from Caddyshack, the, go on, we're waiting. You see Daedalus,
Well, go on.
as you guys continue walking.
They do not know my face, so I can get in very easily. However, you two obviously cannot. So the plan is, I'm going to bind your hands and tie you together and attempt to sell you like slaves. And he kind of, when he says slaves, his eyes look directly at Daedalus, and then he looks him up and down, and then kind of like looks back to normal, seeing if you guys like the idea.
Alastair strokes his chin for a moment. Well, luckily I can bring in a weapon without having it physically on me, since it's my packed weapon, so I'm game. We just have to figure out how we're going to get our bindings free.
I could tie them loosely.
And I could sell it as such, that it's bound, quote-unquote, tight.
We could. It won't be hard to trick them into thinking you are slaves for sale.
In this moment, Hathron, Alastair, can I get both of you to roll me an insight check? It's going to be way less difficult for Hathron because he's doing this on purpose. There's like a specific reaction he's trying to go for.
15.
15? Okay.
Can I get advantage?
Yeah, you have advantage. Oh, nice.
Triple?
Yeah, one. Triple advantage. 3. Ooh. 1, 3. Ooh. Big value. All right, so Hathron, you don't quite see it like Alastair does. You do see that Daedalus is indeed staring at you. He has not said anything since you looked at him in the eyes and said that. He is staring at you with intent. Alastair, at first you don't think anything of it, but then as you look at Daedalus, you realize he hasn't said anything. He is not commenting on this plan. He's not had a reaction. He's just staring at Hathron. You get a look at him, and you can see his hands are not quite shaking, but you can see he's got a bit of a tremor to his fingertips, as if he's in shock, in a way. And you see him kind of apprehensively. He goes to speak, and finally finds his voice. Parker, I just saw what you typed. I'm sorry. Of a rascal. What a little rascal Hathron
Bro, I'm
is.
antagonizing so hard.
Just a goofy little guy. But
I'm just fooling, man.
he's just fooling. as
Just a
you
little goober.
as you said slaves, you triggered something deep within. Oh, triggered! You triggered something deep within Daedalus. As if he was not here in this moment. He was staring at you, he was listening, but he wasn't here, he wasn't present.
Give him a Vietnam flashback.
When he finally comes to it, and you see him, Alistair, you see him take a very, like, a solid gulp, gulps down his spit. You can see him trying to find his voice. He looks at you, Hathron.
When did you see it?
It's...
See what?
You see his lips begin to curl, his lower lip going up towards the upper. You see this look of anger on Daedalus. And Alastair, this is the first time you've seen him angry outside of those orcs that tried to ambush us at the temple. You see a legitimate look of rage on Daedalus's face.
Do not play coy with me, Orc's Bane. You know of what I speak. When did you see it?
Last night, when I got back from my hunt. You left the tent open.
Daedalus looks down. He looks away for a second. He looks back at you. You can see he's trying to think of the words, the proper wording of what he wants to say, because he knows you're doing this to get a reaction out of him, so he's trying not to give you what you want. He looks at you.
We will deal with this after we deal with the camp. When we get to them, we deal with them. The orcs. Then I will deal with the last one. And you will not be putting me in any bindings. And I would sooner rather be skinned and flayed and scalded and burned than give up my sickle.
I'd give it back.
Orcs never give anything back. I do not trust you. We will
Funny.
go there, and we will fulfill our oaths to one another.
You don't trust me. One of you lied about a demon. And the other one hid the truth. It seems we are all very untrustworthy. What would you have us do to get into this camp? Knock on the front door?
What about if you say you have a partnership with Daedalus? That you all are going to both sell me into slavery to these orcs? A compromise, if you will.
Daedalus looks away.
I have something. If the first plan is a no-go because it would put a stain on your honor. Put me in the chain. I'm the Orc Bane. They rather have my head on a pike or have me as a slave than either of you two.
They would rather slaughter the both of us than deal with an elf and a dragonborn selling an orc. They'd just kill us both and take you. I may be angered, but I am not blinded by my rage. You are right, Hathron. Your plan is the best at this moment. And I will not let my anger nor my pride keep us from our goal. You may hang on to the sickle long enough for us to get in, but once we are in there, once we come face to face with them, give it back to me.
All you'll need to do is pick it up.
I will do more than pick it up, Orc's Bane.
I will not leave you in chains. This is not my way. They'll have many defenses at the tower.
We've seen your way. You don't take prisoners. Sorry, continue.
They'll have many defenses at the tower. As long as they don't suspect anything, we should be fine. They'll lead us right to the front door, let us in, most likely take us straight to the chieftain himself. And then as I present you both to him, you will drop your bindings. I will rush the chieftain, and then we will kill the others.
As he says the others, Daedalus looks at you, Alastair, and you can see on his face he's reassuring you. Like, you can see a look on his face like he ain't killing no children and no women. At least, that's what, he believes. But he looks at you, Hathron, and he nods.
Let's just get on with it.
You guys walk for a while. And as you're walking, Daedalus kind of looks over at you, Alastair, and I'm going to do an insight check. I want to see how you feel about what just happened. Daedalus is trying to see if you're mad at him for the what he's hiding. He's trying to get a feel of your behavior in this moment.
Okay. Roll an insight check, and I'll tell you what information you can get based off your roll.
Okay. Go ahead and roll real quick. 14.
Okay. So, Alastair, while you guys are walking down the path, he kind of like occasionally, you're on his good side, right? Like where he can see. Hathron is on the bad side, even though he would prefer it to be the other way. But he's kind of like, he looks at you at the side, and you see this like look of empathy in his eyes. Like he's like relating to you. He kind of knows. He can read between the lines. He might be young and naive, but he's not dumb. He's actually going to speak up and tell you something. Daedalus, I have a question.
He looks at you. He doesn't say anything.
I'm going to ask anyway because it's going to bother me, but... You implied you were a slave, no?
He nods.
I think that's why we get along so well. Do not fret, I bear no anger towards you from hiding it from me, as I did the same to you. We are both slaves in our own ways. Do not fret, let's finish this plan. Let's storm the Tower of Storms and hold up our end of the bargain. And he blinks. Roll me an insight check.
It's a wink. It's a shitty fucking wink. I'm gonna roll it. Oh my god, that's my best one.
So, he does that, you see his cheekbone scrunch up a little bit. You can tell he was winking at you. He wasn't just blinking, he was winking.
You can see Daedalus is... You see a slight smile to him when you say that you're not mad that but you relate to him in that way. That we are both slaves. He can I perception check your convo? Yeah. You can hear. I mean, I don't think Alastair's hiding anything. Yeah, you can hear.
Okay,
you can
cool,
jump in if you want.
I wanted that to be quiet because I didn't know what the answer would be.
No, you can. I appreciate you typing that out, but you can ask stuff like that.
Okay. So do I just outright hear it, or do I got to roll for it?
Oh,
No,
you hear it. Why don't you roll an insight check if
Okay.
you want to determine the message between the lines?
I got nothing.
Yeah, you hear everything, so just whatever you interpret from what
Alright.
you heard. Do you say anything before Zach and I continue?
No.
Okay. What were you saying, Alistair?
Oh, no, I'm good.
Oh, okay. Daedalus doesn't say anything. You see a slight smile, but it disappears very quickly. You can see anger. You can feel it from Daedalus, and you see Daedalus is kind of... Hathron's walking ahead of the two of you, but Daedalus is just staring at the back of Hathron's skull. And I'm sure Hathron can feel it. He does not care. Or at least I assume he would not care. But you can see this has deeply affected Daedalus, that he did not want this to come out. This was something that he meant to keep secret forever, in a way. You can see this deep, sort of reserved, something that's been pushed down for a long time, something that Daedalus hasn't had to deal with or face, and it's begun to bubble to the surface now at this point. And you could see him, like you, he has much to hide. And you can kind of feel the gears turning in your head, puzzle pieces starting to come together about Daedalus's past and about things he said, whether it was his refusal to breathe fire, the mentions of he once had a family, and now something to deal with him potentially being a slave at one point. You can see that this is all connected in one way or another. How? We don't know yet, but you can see the connections beginning to form. And Daedalus, in the same way, has had that same realization with you that these things connect. How, and specifically, we don't know. But many truths have been revealed in this moment, but more questions than answers. As you all continue down the road, there's a silence between the three of you. You know that you have a few days' travel ahead to get to the Tower of Storms. You don't know what awaits you. You get the feeling that maybe Hathron knows more than he's willing to let on for now. But with the secrets that the two of you have kept, Hathron may as well be entitled to a few of his own. The silence passes slowly and agonizingly. When finally you reach the edge of Cliff Top, the edge of the Storm Coast, and before you, Alastair, Hathron, Daedalus, you see a lighthouse perched upon a lone island, connected to the land via a small land bridge that crests just above the thrashing waves of the Storm Coast. You can see, littered around this lighthouse on this island, you can see some breaking the surface, some just beneath the surface. You could see, depending on the waves, every once in a while, you can see a sort of reef of broken ships. You can see the half-broken mast hanging just above the water. You can see the bows of ships protruding up, the rest of them hidden beneath the water's surface. You can see the storms in the distance encroaching in on the tower. And you see, indeed, from here at the cliff top, you can see the tower, the lighthouse, is well inhabited with what must be close to 100 orcs. Mostly women and children. Hathron, you see everything. You see the way they live their lives, how you discussed before, the chief, he lives inside the tower. He's no doubt taken his mates there and his strongest warriors. And the rest of the people, the rest of the women, the children, and the rank and file members of the tribe are littered throughout the tower area and the courtyard below. And you see them living their lives as any tribe would, and it sickens you. It sickens you that they're allowed to live. It sickens you that these orcs haven't already thrown themselves from the top of this tower in fear of what is to come. But fear not. You will break their bodies yourself, each and every last one of them. Daedalus sees everything as well. He sees the women, he sees the children, he wishes he did not. And he remembers his words to Hathron, that they will all die. But he also remembers the oath he gave to Alastair, that he would protect Alastair with his life. And he remembers their objective and what they came here for, the dragon, the chieftain of the orcs. Kill the chieftain, Hathron helps them with the dragon. At least that's what Daedalus hopes. And Alastair, you see nothing but the women and the children. You see them happy. You hear the children's laughter. You know orcs can be monstrous, they can be evil, but in this moment you do see a somewhat relatable nature to them, that they cannot, maybe deep down they aren't all this way, these pureblood orcs, that maybe there is good within the evil. But perhaps there is also great evil within that good, just waiting to mature and blossom to the surface. But with that, we are going to end our session. I want to take the time to thank everyone for being here. We really appreciate your continued support of the channel and the podcast and everything that we do. I can't say enough how happy I am that we've gotten this far, and there's still a lot to come. I did want to take the time to personally thank Zach and Parker, both of you. I really appreciate you guys doing this with me. I appreciate you guys spending a day every week or every other week to play D&D with me and record it for this podcast. It means a lot to me. And I also appreciate you, the audience, and I appreciate you for sharing this time with us, because this is a journey not just for the three of us. It's a journey for you, the audience, as well. We're bringing you along with us, and although you may not be here at the table with us in this moment, we do feel you here in a way, because we are sharing this experience with you. It's not, to me, it's not a campaign, it's a shared story where we can all sort of lose ourselves in that moment and escape the reality that we all live in. But before I get too philosophical or deep, thank you guys for listening, and thank you guys for playing with me. With that, I'm just going to want to thank our Patreon supporters once again: Melanie Droz, Melanie Cocciolone, Anakin Groce. We love all three of you. And of course, a thank you just in general to all of our listeners. And we will be seeing you next week with Tales of Lodranth, and then picking up back with Thrones. So with that, we're signing off here at Forge D20. I hope y'all have a great night, and y'all take it easy.
Take it easy.
Take it easy.